Welcome, everybody, to the Wonder Boldly podcast. I'm Christine Santos, bringing to you all of the action steps and knowledge I've learned on my journey to becoming an online business owner, quit my corporate job, and now live the life that I desire on my own terms. This podcast is jam-packed with all the knowledge I've gained over the past few years growing my online business. I am so passionate about you going after what it is that you want. I want to encourage and motivate you to know that you too can live the life that you desire. Thank you so much for listening. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wonder Boldly. Today, I want to talk about your podcast title. So you have an idea, you want to share your message with the world, you want to have your own podcast, and you're wondering, what do I call my podcast? So I want to walk through a handful of things that you need to consider when creating your podcast title. And before I do, I want to call out the elephant in the room, which is the title of my podcast, Wonder Boldly. I absolutely love this title. So when I go through the handful of things that you need to consider when creating a podcast title, I really only check off one of those items, and that is that I love the title. I created my podcast a few years ago, and I definitely did it at a time when I was taking messy action and just moving forward. I didn't know what I didn't know. So when I list out the handful of things to consider when you're creating your podcast title, you'll notice that Wonder Boldly doesn't really fit in there. So that being said, I am still keeping my title for now because I do love it so much. Okay, let's get into the handful of things you need to consider when creating your podcast title. First and foremost, it's always about your community, your audience. Who are you speaking to? Who do you want to engage with? Think about them and how you can connect with them. What speaks to them? What are they looking for? Next, you want it to be descriptive. So when somebody comes across it, they know what they're getting. Sure, it's fun to be catchy and come up with a title like Wonder Boldly, but nobody is searching, how can I wonder boldly, right? Maybe people are searching, how do I start a paleo diet? How do I increase the muscle mass in my legs? Things like that. So make sure that your title is descriptive. Use SEO keywords, but also ensure that your title is short and easy for people to remember and spell. Word of mouth is how so many people find out about podcasts to listen to. So you want people to remember the name and you want them to be able to easily spell it. Maybe they're emailing a friend about it. Maybe they're texting a friend about it. You don't want them to be wondering, what is the name of that podcast I listen to? It's so good. So make it easy for people to remember. Know your category, meaning what is the podcast about? The overarching thing. Is it fitness? Is it education? Is it health? Then know what specific topic that you will be talking about. So let's say it's health and you will be talking about a paleo lifestyle. Health will be your category and your specific topic is paleo. This is a fun one. Consider what is the personality of your podcast. Remember, going back to who is listening, what resonates with them? Is your podcast funny? Is it super formal? Is it educational? Consider that when you are naming your podcast. And one must do is to research it to see that if the name is already trademarked. I'll put the link for the trademark search in the show notes. You want to make sure you're not using a name that's already been trademarked. Then you also want to consider, does somebody else have this podcast name? You want to be unique. You want to stand out. So I recommend you naming your podcast something unique. Another thing to consider is, are you going to want to create a social media handle for it? Is that already in use? Are you going to want to create a website using that name? Is the domain name already in use? I'll put a link in the show notes so you can do a domain name search. I said it before and I'll say it again. SEO is important. Consider that when you're choosing your title. And remember, this podcast journey should be fun, especially in the beginning when you're growing your business. Let's let it be fun. And with that in mind, I have created a Wonder Boldly podcast name brainstorming machine. If you have writer's block and you're struggling to come up with a name, I'll put the link in the show notes. You can submit your idea and I will send you some brainstorming ideas for the name of your podcast. And if you're not even ready yet, but you want to play around, get those creative juices flowing, I highly recommend click on the link in the show notes and have some fun. I hope you are enjoying your podcast journey, whether you're just thinking about it, just started out, or knee deep in all things podcast. I absolutely love podcasting and I cannot recommend it enough. If you are looking to start your own podcast and you want somebody to partner with you, hold your hand, hold you accountable, answer those questions when you have them, my registration for my Unleash Your Voice program is open. Click the link in the show notes and sign up. I can't wait to see you on the inside. And until next time, continue to wonder boldly.